Okay guys, so in today's video, we are going to be changing things up a little bit, mainly to do with the aspect ratio of the game, because we want to change the layout of the game as well, and like the canvas and stuff, because originally I planned this game to be like a mobile device game. So currently the way we are making it is for a 4K resolution, which is not really what we want because it won't really fit on your mobile device if we publish it, or not that we will, but if we ever put it on or play it or test it on a mobile device, we want it to look really good. And so that's what we're going to be working on today. We'll go into the canvas and change things up and reposition the title and stuff like that so that it looks nice on a mobile device screen. And then after that, we are going to add an extra option onto our main menu, which is probably going to be like a options menu. And then we are going to create a new scene and add further options to change or to start the customization of the cube for the player. So you'll be able to customize the cube that you move around in the game through that option. So we'll start working on that. We don't know how far we'll get into that, but we'll give that a go and see how it goes. But before we do that, an update on where we were in the previous episode. So this is what we were doing a couple of episodes ago. But before this, we started making a test scene where we'll save that, where when we press play, we wanted to generate a random maze for us. So let's see, this is what it does currently. Let's go out of 2D mode. So at the moment, it just generates a square of cubes. So these are all individual cubes that are placed next to each other. I think that it's 20. So it's 20 by 20. And eventually what we want this to do is we wanted to generate an entire maze it's like a random maze every single time you complete a level, so that we don't have to manually create each maze individually. We can just press the next button and it generates a brand new maze for us. But I did realize after I made this video that this is a lot more complicated than I thought it was, because not only do we have to generate a random maze, we also now have to make sure that when we go and spawn in our cube that we move, we need to make sure that it's not on a wall or the outer edge of the maze. So we need to make sure it's somewhere along the path. And then after that, we still need to, well, before we spawn in our cube, we need to spawn in a starting position so that we can spawn our cube onto that position. And then after we've done that, we also need to spawn in a end location, so a place for you to move to so you can finish the level. And then after that, we also need to figure out if, once we've got all of those in the maze, we need to figure out if there is actually a path from point A to point B, which is the start position to the end position. And if it's not, then we need to go and generate a completely new maze and then go through that whole cycle again. But not only do we have to do that, when we want to make the game more fun, we need to add in things like power-ups and cubes that eventually will add in, like cubes that you have to move up and down to different levels and stuff. We'll have to spawn those in as well. So there's a lot that needs to go into it. So we'll get there eventually, but we're not going to be doing that today. We'll leave that in our testing scene for now, and we'll get back to that later on. So let's go back to our game scene here, and let's get cracking on with our changing the resolution. So currently we have it set at 4K Ultra HD. I'm going to narrow it down to 1080 by 1920, which should be, well, actually let's go to full HD because that's pretty much the same. So that should be, okay, no, so let's go, we want it to be a mobile device screen. So this is kind of what it is. So we want to go and move some of these objects around, or labels rather, move some of them around so that it looks like it fits on the screen, because currently our our title here does not fit on the screen. So we'll go and shrink that right down. Might have to change the size of it. It's currently at 400, so let's go and make that 200. And then we will narrow that down so that it fits on the screen. And we'll go put that over there. I'm just going to change the color of that just so that there is some sort of different color other than just white text. What color do we want it? Let's make it orange. Okay, so now we have our play game. We'll also make this a little bit smaller on our button so it's access the text, and we'll make that half of what it is, so 50. Actually, let's make it 3/4 of what it was, so 75. And then we'll move it down slightly. So we're gonna have two options. The first one is the play game, and the next one is going to be the what's it gonna be? It's going to be the options. So that's going to be options button, and then this one will be, I'm just going to rename these the play button so that we know what they do. Okay, so this is the options button. We'll push it down a little bit to over there somewhere, and then let's just zoom in here. Let's just make these a little bit smaller. We can go and position the text in the middle. Over there, I don't know why it didn't move. Okay, so that's fine. And then we'll want to do the same thing with this, and then move our text on this button so that it also matches the one above. Okay, so let's go and move this one down. And then it'll have to be x is equal to 0. This one should also be 0. Okay, that's fine. So let's just go change the text of this one to options. And then we also need to go and change the function that it accesses when we go and press it. But now that I'm looking at the start menu, we also want to get rid of this move count because we don't want it to be there when we are in our when we haven't pressed play and we're on this menu here. So we will first of all, let's just go fix this. We can scale this down. We'll just make it, actually we'll leave it like that, make it smaller a little bit, and then bring it down, bring that in. Okay, so this we will go and disable for now, and then when we go and press play, that is when we will go and enable it or set it active when we go and play the game. So don't forget that this, whatever you see here, is not what it's going to look like from our final product. So we're going to change everything. This is just like placeholders for now because it looks terrible. So we will definitely change that in the future. But for now, let's just go and handle that move count for now. So let's see. When we press play, and then this is where we want that move count to come back into the scene. So let's go and handle that. So we'll do that in our UI manager because we have access to our move count label here. So when we go and press play game, we'll copy this, and then we'll just copy our move count label and put that over there, and then we should be able to say .game object.setActive is equal to true. So we'll save that, and now let's go and test that and see if that works. So we should be able to see our move count now as soon as we press play. So there's our move count, and it still works when we go and move, and then up to the next level. So we also need to change this scene, this panel over here, because it's too big, and looks like we might have a little bit of an error here. So let's go and figure this out quick. So null reference exception, object reference not set to an instance of an object, line 47 in the line manager. So that's a level manager, sorry. So this is over here. Line 47 is over here. Okay, so this is where we are setting the level's starting point. So we go and find the starting point from our current level, which we get from where we pass in. So that should be this. But that doesn't match our parameter. So that's where we are wrong. So this, instead of this being an actual starting point, because if we pass in the starting point, there's no need for us to look for it. Instead, we need to actually pass in our current level. So let's go and copy that and just paste that in there. So that should solve our problem. So now let's just go and test it. But now we need to go and change the size of this panel. So press next. Okay, so here is our next level. We can go and complete it up to the endpoint and then press next. And obviously we're going to get an array out of bounds error because we only have 2 levels. So we can't go past the second level. So let's go to our level complete panel, which is this one. We'll go and enable it, and then let's go and scale it down. So we want it to fit in our screen, and then we'll bring it down like this. I'm just going to disable our start game panel so we're not looking through that. Okay, so here is our level complete panel. Let's go and select that again and make this smaller, like probably something like that. We can go and put it in right in the middle of the scene, which is there. And then I'm just going to move our button up slightly so that it kind of overhangs the panel. So it's like half on the panel and half off the panel, because that looks quite cool. Then we'll move our title down as well. Where do you want to put this? We could probably just put this over here like that maybe. And then we will change the size of this, but first let's go and change the width of it. So we'll bring that in to there, something like that, and then we'll put it in the middle. And then this also needs to be in the middle. That's fine. Okay, so let's go change the text size of this. This needs to be smaller, so we'll make it about 50. Level complete. Yeah, level completed in 20 moves. Okay, that's good. And then this one, we will change the color of it. Let's make it green for now. Add some color to the scene. Okay, so that's fine. Now, we'll leave that like that, I think. And let's just go and disable that because we need it to be disabled on the beginning. And then we'll go, no, not that. We'll go and enable that and then disable the entire panel. And then our start game panel, we will go and enable. Okay, so let's test this out. So here we have our start game. When we press play, the camera zoom in effect still doesn't work. We'll get to that later on, but we can play the game. Here we have our level complete panel, which we will change as well in the future. And then we have a nice button here that we have a silly what's called a hover effect that we don't really want, but we'll change that later on as well. So when we press next level, we get our next level. So we still need to figure out the rotation position of the camera as well, because, or maybe it's this position of the level rather. But here we can still play our next level, and then you can choose whichever way you want, depending on. Hold on. Did that reset our level? Our what's it called? Our move count, because that was not 40 moves, was it? Okay, so that's what we also need to fix that. So we need to go and reset our move count. So let's go and do that quick, because when we go to the next level, we don't want our move count to still be from the first level. So I believe we have a move count in our global class. So on our level manager, when we go and press next level, we can go and simply say global dot move count is now equal to 0. So go reset that. So that should update our move count back to 0 whenever we start a new level. So let's test this out and see if it works. Level complete, that should go back to 0, which it does. Okay, and then we start from 1 again. So cool, that's working nicely. So cool, next level, that doesn't go back to 0, but that's because we got this error, so we need to fix that by adding another level, but we're not going to do that today because we don't want to spend our time creating a level. We can make those in our own time later on. So let's go and try. I'm trying to think. We need to work on our options menu, but do we want to display like a panel, or do we want to display an entire new scene? I'm thinking a panel, maybe like a panel that kind of goes across the entire screen. We'll try that, and if we don't like it, we can just change it. So on our canvas, we will add a new panel, and this will be our options panel. So there we have it. It's displaying our entire screen. What else do we want to do? We want to probably change the color of it so that we can't see anything in the background. So we'll change the alpha to 255, and then maybe the color could be, so you just make it black for now, or like a dark, very, very dark color. We'll leave it like that. We'll change it later. We'll actually add in some UI backgrounds for it later on. But here we want to add on our panel, let's go and add in a new text component and bring this back to the top. And this is going to be a title, so we'll say options. Make it bold, make it bigger to about 60, or rather, let's try 100. Okay, that's a bit too big. Let's go about 80. We'll center it for now. And then, do we want to make this capital? Nah. We'll keep it lowercase for now, so that's fine. Now, what do we want to have in our options menu? We want to be able to change the color of the cube. So to do that, the best way to do that is probably to have like a drop-down list of the different materials that you can select for your cube. Or later on, we could add in like a swipe effect so that you just swipe until the cube changes the color you want it to. But for now, let's go and start implementing the drop-down list. So we will add, actually, let's go to Google quick because I haven't done a drop-down list in ages. So let's have a look here and see. Unity drop-down menu. So it's not going to look great, but obviously the UI is going to change. And I mean, if it doesn't look great now, it's going to match everything else. So that's fine. So how do we create a drop-down list? Can you create it from the, let's see, UI? Hey, you can, drop-down. So here's our drop-down list. So we'll start off just by, actually, how do we want to do this? Drop-down label, let's go and see cube material, because that's what we're going to be changing. Make it bold, change the size to about 20, or let's see, about 40. Let's say about 35. Then we want to move it a little bit. Move it a little bit, if I can access it, so that it's not on the edge. Okay, so now we can, where's the arrow? The arrow, we'll change the color of it to black. Why is it so small? I also need to change the size of it. So arrow, where's the size? Width, let's say about 50 by 50. And then we'll go and move it slightly like that. So that looks a little bit better. We could probably make it bigger, but we will go and do that later. So let's move this to the middle somewhere. And then x is going to be equal to 0. So that's perfectly in the middle. So now let's see, can we add elements to it? So here's option A. Let's go and say, we'll just put the colors. So at the moment we have blue, so we'll put blue. And then the next one will be, no, we can't have red because our walls are red. We will have pink. And then we can have purple. We can have, should we have green? Because we have our endpoint, I think, or our starting point, one of them is green. We can have, what other colors do we have? Let's see. Yellow, let's have orange. We can add orange. Orange, red, pink, purple, blue, green. Okay, we'll leave it like that. We'll leave those the options for now. So when we press play, we should be able to, okay, so we need to make all of those bigger. So let's go and do that. Template. First of all, let's go and enable this so we can actually see what it looks like. So which one is it? Viewpoint, content, item. There's so many different things. Item background, item checkmark, item label. So item label needs to be changed to about 30. And then the check mark also needs to be changed. So can you change it? Yeah, you can. We'll go 40 by 40. Item background, we can change the color of it to match. Actually, we'll leave it for now. But eventually we'll add like a picture so that we can see like a matching color or material that will represent what the cube will change to. But for now, we'll leave it like that. So let's just go and position these a little bit differently. So our label, we want to move it. Can we zoom in a little bit? Our label, we want to move it a little bit this way. Our check mark, we can also move this way. Let's just drag it this way a bit. And then we'll drag it down. I'm not really sure if this is going to affect the way the other options are populated once we've played or started the game and then they pop in. So that's option A. Let's just play the game and see what this actually does. So if we press down on our drop down list, okay, so we need to expand the content area. Is it the content or the viewpoint? No, the viewpoint. So let's make this bigger by dragging it down a little bit. Is that one the template? Or is it the template? Yeah, so template, it's the template one. So we'll drag that down. Let's play now and see what that looks like. So, okay, so now we need to drag all of them. That's so annoying. Viewpoint, content, scroll bar. What? Content, okay, this one. If we do that, maybe, does that work? No. Item, maybe it's item, or make it bigger like that, and then we will move it up to the top because maybe that will make a difference. So let's play the game and see what that looks like. Okay, so that's a little bit better. So we can select purple, pink, blue, or orange. Okay, so that's fine for now. So now what we have to do now is we need to write some sort of script that will actually go and do all of this. But before we do that, let's just go and drop down. Let's go and disable that. I think it was, I can't remember. Anyway, it doesn't start off with it open, so that's fine. We'll leave it like that. Okay, so now we need to go and put some sort of label here to say change the material of the, why am I in gameplay mode? We need to add a label on top of it or next to it to describe what it does, because just having a drop down list that says blue and different colors doesn't really make sense. So options panel here, let's see, in our options panel, let's add a new text. So UI text, we don't want it to be a child object. What am I doing? Why did I do that? Okay, so this we can add as a child object to this because this is the one that we will change. So move this down there and then I'll move our drop down list back up over here. Okay, so on our text, this will be cube material or cube color, whichever one sounds better. We also need to change the size of it because it's not going to fit. So we'll expand that and then expand it this way as well to kind of be in the middle. And then we'll just put it back in the middle like that by saying that equal to 0. Okay, so that should be fine. Let's now go and move it up because it looks kind of stupid when it's all the way at the bottom. So move that there. something like that. Okay, so for our text, I'm just going to change the color of it to red. Let's try and make things colorful. And then I don't like the background of our drop down because it's very dark. So let's just make it like a grayish color. Even this looks absolutely disgusting. I'm not going to lie. It looks so bad. So bad. Viewpoint. We'll just change everything. Content. Change that to item. We'll change it as well. Item. Like that. All right. I can't believe how bad this looks, but I know it's so bad. Okay, so that's fine. We'll leave that like that. So what is the time? Okay, so 1:25 minutes. So we'll leave that there for today. And then in tomorrow's episode, we will go and write a script so that we can actually get this running and working. So the object of this is to change the material of the cube. So when you play the game, if you don't want to, I think it's a blue cube at the moment. If you don't want to play with a blue cube, you can go and select, I think we have pink, orange, or whatever colors in the drop down list. We will add more later on. Not actually, we won't. What we'll do is we will add some materials that are fun. So it's not just like a solid color. We'll make materials from scratch, or some sort of texture, or just something to add onto the cube that you can select, so that you can kind of like personalize the game for whatever suits you or what you want to play the game and how you want it to look. But that's it for today's video. So thanks for watching again, and I'll see you guys in tomorrow's episode. So goodbye.